The fluorescent kitchen light hummed, a flat, sickly yellow that did nothing to soften the edges of my mother's face. She stood across the Formica counter, a half-empty mug of cooling tea clutched in her hands, her knuckles white. I'd just walked in from my shift, my feet aching, my backpack heavy with textbooks. The air felt thick, heavy, like a storm brewing inside the house. "We sold it," she announced, her voice flat, devoid of any warmth. I blinked, the words echoing in the sudden silence. "Sold what, Mom?" "The house. Your father and I. We finalized it this morning." Her gaze didn't waver, fixed somewhere over my shoulder, as if she couldn't quite meet my eyes. A cold knot tightened in my stomach. "The house? Our house? What are you talking about?" She finally looked at me, her expression hardening. "Exactly what I said, Vanessa. The house. It's done. We're moving to Florida. Smaller place. Less upkeep. You know, retirement." She paused, taking a slow sip of her tea. "You have a month." My breath caught in my throat. "A month? A month for what?" My voice came out as a strangled whisper. "To find a new place, of course." She set the mug down with a clatter. "We close in 30 days. You're out." The word struck me like a physical blow. You're out. Not "we'll help you find something." Not "what are your plans?" Just "you're out." My entire world, the only home I'd ever known, crumbled around me. I was 22, working part-time to put myself through nursing school, living at home to save money. This wasn't just an inconvenience, it was a demolition. "Mom, I can't. I have school. My job. I don't have savings for a deposit and first month's rent on an apartment right now. You know I'm paying tuition." My voice rose, a desperate edge creeping in. She shrugged, a dismissive gesture that made my blood run cold. "That's not our problem, dear. We gave you a roof, food, everything a child could need for 22 years. It's time you stood on your own 2 feet. We're done." "Done?" I stared at her, my mind reeling. "You're just kicking me out? After everything? No warning? No discussion?" "It's not kicking you out. It's moving on. We have plans. You're an adult. You figure it out." She picked up her mug, turning to the sink, her back a wall. I stood there, rooted to the spot, the smell of stale coffee and disinfectant suddenly overwhelming. My vision blurred. This wasn't just about a house. It was about a fundamental betrayal. My own mother, my own father, had conspired behind my back, sold the ground beneath my feet, and then casually informed me I was homeless in a month. No empathy, no concern, just cold, hard logistics. This is unbelievable." I finally managed, the words tasting like ash. She ran water in the sink, rinsing her mug. "Life is full of surprises, Vanessa. You'll learn." I spun on my heel, the weight of her indifference crushing me. I stumbled to my room, the familiar space suddenly alien, temporary. My bed, my desk, my books, all of it felt like borrowed time. I pulled out my phone, my fingers shaking as I scrolled through my contacts. "Hey, Liam." I croaked into the phone, my voice thick with unshed tears. "Are you busy?" I need to talk." Liam, my best friend since kindergarten, met me at our usual diner booth an hour later. He listened patiently, his dark eyes wide with concern, as I recounted the conversation, my voice cracking at intervals. "They just told me. Like I was a tenant, not their daughter." I wiped a tear from my cheek. "A month, Liam. 30 days. Where am I supposed to go?" He reached across the table, squeezing my hand. That's messed up, V. Seriously messed up. You can crash at my place for a bit, if you need to. My parents won't mind. We've got the spare room." A small spark of hope flickered in the darkness. "Really? You'd do that?" "Of course I would. Your family, V. More than they sound like they are right now." He shook his head. "How could they do that to you? No warning? No help? They said I'm an adult. Time to stand on my own 2 feet." I laughed, a bitter, humorless sound. After paying for my first 2 years of college, they suddenly decided I'm a fully self-sufficient adult who can conjure an apartment out of thin air while juggling nursing school and a part-time job. "It's a power play," Liam muttered, stirring his coffee. "They want to cut ties clean. No lingering attachments. No financial obligations. Just poof. You're gone." Over the next few weeks, the house became a war zone of boxes and tension. My parents were like ghosts flitting through rooms, packing their lives into cardboard. They didn't offer to help me pack my small pile of belongings, didn't ask about my apartment search, didn't even look at me unless it was to bark an instruction about something they needed moved. My father, usually quiet, became even more withdrawn, avoiding my gaze entirely. My mother was a whirlwind of efficiency, her face set in a grim, determined mask. "Did you find anything yet?" she asked one evening, her voice devoid of any genuine curiosity, more like a checklist item. I gripped the kitchen counter, my knuckles white. "The market's insane, Mom. Everything's either too expensive or a dump. And landlords want proof of income, a credit check, cosigners. I'm a student. I barely make enough for groceries." She sighed, a theatrical puff of air. "Well, you have to try harder, don't you? We're not going to delay our plans for you." "I'm not asking you to delay your plans." I snapped, my voice shaking with frustration. "I'm asking for a little help. A little understanding. You're my parents. We've done our part," she said, her voice flat. "Now it's your turn." She turned away, dismissing me. The final day arrived with a brutal efficiency. Movers swarmed the house, dismantling the life I'd known. I had nowhere to go, no apartment secured. Liam's offer was my only lifeline. As I carried my last box out the door, my mother stood by the moving truck, directing traffic. She didn't look at me, didn't offer a hug, didn't say goodbye. My father was already in the passenger seat of their car, staring straight ahead. I walked to Liam's car, my few boxes rattling in the trunk. I felt like a stray, abandoned on the side of the road. "It's okay, V," Liam said, his voice soft as he started the engine. "You're safe now. We'll figure this out." I stayed with Liam and his incredibly kind parents for 2 months. They were a balm to my raw nerves, offering comfort, food, and a sense of family I suddenly realized I'd been missing. Liam's mom, Sarah, even helped me scour rental listings, patiently explaining the nuances of leases and tenant rights. Liam's dad, Mark, sat me down and went over my budget, helping me figure out what I could realistically afford. "Your parents, they really just cut you loose, didn't they?" Sarah murmured one evening as we folded laundry. Her voice was gentle, full of empathy. I nodded, a lump in my throat. "Completely. No calls. No texts. Nothing. It's like I just ceased to exist for them." "Well, you exist for us," she said, pulling me into a hug. "And you're a wonderful young woman, Vanessa. You're going to be okay." Their support, combined with my own desperate drive, pushed me forward. I picked up extra shifts, sacrificing sleep and social life. I aced my midterms, fueled by a fierce determination to prove my parents wrong, to build a life they couldn't touch. After weeks of searching, I found a tiny, affordable studio apartment a few blocks from campus. It was a shoebox, but it was mine. I signed the lease, my hands shaking with a mixture of fear and triumph. Moving in was a sparse affair. Liam helped me carry my few boxes, and his parents surprised me with a small housewarming gift, a set of decent cooking pots. I slept on an air mattress for a month until I saved enough for a cheap bed frame and mattress. My apartment was quiet, sometimes too quiet, but it was a sanctuary. Every dollar I spent, every item I bought felt like a victory. I was truly on my own, and it was terrifying, exhilarating. 6 months later. 6 months since my mother dropped the bomb, since my world imploded, since I became an orphan with living parents. I hadn't heard a word from them. "No, how are you? No, did you find a place?" Nothing. It was a silence so profound it felt like a deliberate act of erasure. I was finally finding my footing. My grades were strong, my part-time job as a pharmacy tech was stable, and I was even starting to build a small emergency fund. My studio apartment, though small, felt like home. I'd decorated it with thrift store finds and plants. It was a space I'd built for myself, with my own hands, my own sweat. Then the email arrived. A generic subject line, family gathering. It was from my Aunt Carol, my mother's sister. A family reunion, she wrote, back in our old town. My parents were flying back for it. A celebration of my cousin Mark's engagement, a chance for everyone to catch up. She'd included a polite, almost anodyne, invitation to me. I stared at the screen, a knot forming in my stomach. They were coming back, and they wanted me to show up, as if nothing had happened. As if they hadn't thrown me out, severed all ties, and then disappeared. My first instinct was to delete it, to ignore them, just as they had ignored me. But then a different thought sparked, a cold, sharp ember in my chest. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was about them, about their carefully constructed narrative of the perfect retirement, the perfect family. I called Liam. "They're back," I said, my voice flat. "My parents. Family reunion." "Oh boy," he murmured. "Are you going?" "I don't know. Part of me wants to just vanish. But part of me wants to show up. To show them I didn't just shrivel up and die. That I'm not a pathetic mess. You're not a pathetic mess, V. You're amazing. You built a whole life for yourself in 6 months, from nothing, with zero help from them. That's incredible. I know, I said, a flicker of resolve hardening my tone. But they don't. They probably imagine me living in a cardboard box under a bridge. I decided to go. Not for them, but for me. For the quiet satisfaction of showing them the consequences of their actions, without saying a word. The reunion was held at a local community hall, a cavernous space filled with folding chairs and the cacophony of distant relatives. I walked in, my heart pounding, a strange mix of dread and defiance swirling inside me. I wore a simple black dress, nothing flashy, but I'd spent extra time on my hair and makeup. I wanted to look put together, resilient. I spotted them immediately. My mother, her hair newly styled, her face tanned, chatting animatedly with my Aunt Susan. My father, looking older, but relaxed, laughing with my Uncle David. They looked happy, content, as if their sudden, brutal severance of our relationship had been the best decision they'd ever made. My Aunt Carol saw me first. Her face softened, a genuine smile spreading across it. Vanessa, you made it. Oh, it's so good to see you, dear. She pulled me into a warm hug, a stark contrast to my mother's usual stiff embraces. You look wonderful. Thank you, Aunt Carol, I said, my voice a little shaky. It's good to see you too. My mother turned, her eyes sweeping over me, a flicker of something unreadable in their depths. Surprise? Disappointment? She quickly composed herself, her smile tightening. Vanessa, she said, her voice cool, almost formal. You're here. I am, I replied, my voice steady, betraying none of the turmoil inside me. I didn't rush to embrace her. I didn't offer a hug. I simply stood there, waiting. My father approached, his hands in his pockets. He cleared his throat. Hello, Vanessa. Dad. My response was equally brief. The silence stretched, thick with unspoken words. My mother shifted, her gaze darting around the room, as if searching for an escape. So, she finally said, her voice a little too bright. How are things? Did you find a place? The question, asked with such casual indifference, felt like a deliberate insult. After 6 months of radio silence, this was their big concern? I did, I said, a small, knowing smile playing on my lips. A studio apartment. Just big enough for me. Oh, good, she said, hint of surprise in her tone. She clearly hadn't expected me to land on my feet so quickly, so completely. It's actually quite nice, I continued, my voice calm, deliberate. Small but cozy. I've made it my own. And it's close to campus, which is convenient. My father cleared his throat again. And school? How's nursing school? Excellent. I'm on track for Dean's list this semester. And my job at the pharmacy is going well. I'm saving up. I met his gaze directly, allowing no weakness to show. My mother's eyes narrowed slightly. Oh, that's good to hear. Her voice was still flat, but there was an edge to it now, a subtle shift. Yes, I agreed. It is. It's amazing what you can accomplish when you're truly independent. When you have to rely solely on yourself. I let the words hang in the air, a silent accusation. She stiffened, her jaw tightening. Well, we always encouraged independence, Vanessa. You certainly did, I said, my smile unwavering. You gave me a very accelerated lesson in it. Aunt Carol, sensing the tension, stepped in. Vanessa, dear, come meet Mark's fiancée, Sarah. She's lovely. She gently steered me away, leaving my parents standing there, a strange, uncomfortable silence enveloping them. Throughout the evening, my parents kept their distance. They watched me from across the room, their expressions unreadable. I chatted with cousins, caught up with aunts and uncles, and even shared a quiet moment with Aunt Carol, who squeezed my hand and whispered, I'm so proud of you, honey. You've handled this with such grace. Later, as the party began to wind down, my mother approached me again, her expression more subdued. My father stood a few feet behind her, his arms crossed. Vanessa, she began, her voice softer than before, almost hesitant. We wanted to talk. About everything. I raised an eyebrow, my arms crossed over my chest. Everything? That's a lot to cover in a community hall, Mom. And a little late, wouldn't you say? We know we handled it poorly, she admitted, her gaze dropping to the floor. It was a difficult decision for us. We needed to start fresh. And we thought you were old enough to manage. Manage being made homeless with a month's notice while in school and working part-time? I asked, my voice devoid of emotion. That's quite a standard you set. My father stepped forward. We didn't mean to hurt you, Ness. We were so focused on our own plans. His voice was low, laced with an unfamiliar remorse. And those plans didn't include your daughter. I finished for him. I got the message loud and clear. For 6 months, I've been completely erased from your lives. Not a single call, not a text. Nothing. You severed ties completely. You abandoned me. My mother flinched, her eyes wide. Abandoned? That's a strong word, Vanessa. Is it? I challenged, my voice rising slightly but still controlled. What would you call it? I was your child. And when it became inconvenient, you cut me off. You made it clear I was a burden, not a daughter. She opened her mouth, then closed it, her face pale. I had to rely on the kindness of strangers. Well, Liam and his family, to even have a roof over my head. I continued, my voice steady, strong. I built my entire life from scratch. Alone. While you were basking in the Florida sun. My father finally spoke, his voice quiet. We thought you'd be fine. You're capable. Capable, yes, I agreed, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. Because I had no other choice. You left me no other choice. But fine is a luxury I couldn't afford for a long time. I was terrified. I was struggling. And you just disappeared. The silence that followed was deafening. My mother's eyes glistened, but no tears fell. My father looked down at his shoes, his shoulders slumped. They had nothing to say. No excuses, no apologies that could bridge the chasm they'd created. I looked at them, truly looked at them, and for the first time, I felt no anger. Only a profound sense of detachment. They were just two people standing there, small and diminished by their own choices. They weren't the all-powerful figures who had once dictated my world. They were just them. And I was me. I have to go, I said, my voice calm, almost serene. I have an early shift tomorrow. I turned, not waiting for a response. I walked out of the community hall, leaving them in the echoing silence of their own making. The night air was cool, fresh, a stark contrast to the stifling atmosphere inside. I took a deep breath, filling my lungs. I hadn't gotten an apology that truly meant anything, but I didn't need one. I had faced them, told my truth, and walked away. I had survived. I had thrived. And the best part? They had to live with what they'd done, while I was free. Free to build my own future, on my own terms, with my own strength. And that, I realized, was a far more satisfying victory than any apology could ever be.